Hi everyone, I'm Laureen and today I will show you how to do the Jane Austen's bath bun recipe. So to begin, I will list the ingredients you will need. So first, butter, flour, instant yeast, also need eggs, sugar, milk. I'm using vanilla flavored oat milk, but any milk will do. Salt. Also be adding chocolate to mine, but you can use whatever you have at home, whether it be chocolate or orange blossom water or anything that suits your fancy. As far as measurements go for the recipe, I will be using a scale, but feel free to use cups or whatever you usually use to follow recipes. I will start by adding 113 grams of butter or 4 ounces. You can cut little cubes of butter and add them to your bowls until it weighs approximately 113 grams. After you're done, you can put it to the side and go on with the next step of the recipe, which is to add the flour. You will need approximately 450 grams, which is 1 pound. I would advise you to use a much bigger bowl, otherwise you're gonna end up just like me and have something in the shape of a mountain of flour in your small bowl. So for the instant yeast, I'm gonna use the whole pack, which is 7 grams or the equivalent of 1.5 teaspoons. It's important to use instant yeast because it will just make the dough rise faster. As the sugar is concerned, I'm gonna use 4 tablespoons, which is the equivalent of 15 grams. For the milk, I'm going to need 250 milliliters, which is the equivalent of a cup of milk. The easiest thing to measure is the eggs. You will only need 2 of them. If they are large, it's better. You will also need a pinch of salt for the recipe and anything that suits your fancy flavor wise. So I'm using dark chocolate, but you can use anything you like or keep them plain. So for the beginning of the actual recipe, you will need to start with the flour and the butter. Room temperature butter is very important. You will have to mix both these ingredients until you achieve a crumble-like texture. I advise you to start with the butter as the base and then slowly add in the flour. I added approximately half of my flour and I'm going to start by mixing it with clean hands, and then once this texture is easier to work with, I will add the remaining flour. Now I feel like we have achieved that crumble-like texture. I'll start by adding my sugar and giving the mix a little stir. Now I will be adding the instant yeast to one side of my bowl and the salt to the other side. I've always heard that it's very important that both don't directly come into contact because it will lessen the effects of the instant yeast. Instant yeast is much thicker in consistency, and as you might have seen, it's not the same color as the regular white baking powder. It's just more efficient and quicker to make your dough rise. You're going to put your dry ingredient mix to the side and break your eggs in a bowl. For this recipe, you're gonna need to whisk them for approximately 30 seconds. Grab the biggest bowl you have at home and combine your dry and wet ingredients. Start by adding half of my dry ingredient mix to the bowl. I'm gonna add my eggs, approximately half of my milk. Mix it gently with a wooden spatula. Once it's done and the texture looks something like that, I add my remaining milk and dry ingredient mix. Your dough looks something a little like that, it's time to add your optional ingredients. So as I said, it can be vanilla extract, chocolate chips, or anything that you like. You can also keep it plain, so just skip that step if it's the case for you. This is 50 grams of dark chocolate. Gently adding that to the bowl, and I'll give it a good mix. Now we are going to cover our bowl with a towel and let the dough rise for 2 hours. In 2 hours, and now the first thing we need to do is preheat our oven at 180 Celsius, which is equivalent to 350 Fahrenheit. Now after 2 hours, your dough should look something like that. Ta-da! I hope you're not afraid of things getting messy because you're gonna have to put flour all over your countertop and flip the dough on it. If it feels a little sticky, you can use a wooden spatula to make sure you get all of it out of the bowl. And put a little bit of flour on the dough as well, and then you're gonna have to just roll it on your countertop. The flour you use, the less sticky the dough will feel, so don't be shy with it. Once your dough looks a little like that, you're gonna have to divide it into 12 equal-sized bowls. Once you've divided your dough into 12 bowls, your trays should look something like that. I ended up needing 2 of them, but if you have a bigger tray, you might only need 1. Now, we're gonna have to let the 12 bowls rest on the tray, covered with a towel for another 30 minutes. Put your buns in the oven for 20 minutes. What your Bath buns should look like once cooked. If you want to coat your buns with the glaze that's in the recipe, you should wait for them to cool down before doing so. I hope you enjoyed this baking tutorial, and I'll see you soon in another video.